Hey everyone, so I actually wanted to preface this video saying that this actually wasn't my best run in terms of optimal strategy, but I got a really nice P2 and it turned into a clear. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy. I'll just be walking you through my mindset, and I hope that this might help noob rangers and veteran rangers alike. So at the start, I love to jump up, throw a sticky, and then use multi-launch, but you'll actually see that I ended up pressing the wrong key and jumped up, kind of looking pretty stupid, having my multi-launch come in really late there. So mistake number one. Right here, when his arm comes back, you actually want to shoot a raising shot kind of late so that your raising shot pierces through the arm as it's coming toward you, instead of letting your shot go into the void, basically, because you shot it really early. Right here is pretty standard. You just have your pods, and you want to make sure that you do as much damage as possible. Here I use Fallen Impact as a form of active DPS, so that while I'm also laying mines, Fallen Impact is also hitting at the same time. And right about now, I see that this pod has been taking some heavy damage, so I swap bullets to that one because I know that this pod is going to break, such as this. Your awareness is definitely really important on this quest. When he's swinging his arms, I think it's smart to actually lock into free cam, or actually delock rather, from, lock on. So you can go into free cam, so you can actually see what's going on around you, because it's very easy to get hit in this quest. And if you do have a TISA, such as I do, getting hit means losing that damage bonus. Here, another Fallen Impact, just to show that you really want to be maintaining that active DPS wherever you can. I swapped bullet there because I felt that this one was going to break, which it did. So having bullet on the open weak spot arms is really important, not only for breaking them quickly, but also just keeping extra damage up. A question that I'm going to get, and I'm well aware, is why are you throwing grenades? Why aren't you only laying mines? So Solus has a tendency to do a lot of moves where your second mine will just not hit if there's any type of arm movement, which can be very annoying. So I like to go with the safe option and just throw grenades, as I know that if I lay a mine and then I throw a grenade, then I'm basically guaranteed to hit both of them at the same time. Another thing that I want to mention is the idea of encore jumping. So previously you saw that I was encore jumping with the rifle impact normals on his arm. I think it's really important to fit in any extra damage where you can. Sometimes you're not always going to be in optimal range to shoot raising shot. So making damage wherever you can is always something that you should be doing. I also use Divine Impact, even though it doesn't build Rifle Impact. I use it as a kind of a reset tool, because if you're too close to the pod and you actually run forward, or I guess dodge forward, you actually will dodge on the other side of the pod where your back will be to him, which makes you a much easier target to hit. Which, risks you losing that TISA potential, which obviously you wouldn't want to do in this quest. So I want to go over another mistake that I made here. So what I believe I should have done was actually lock onto something else to shoot the bullet, because I knew that pod was going to break. So in this circumstance, I should have locked on to the back, where I would have actually kept the purple bullet and had it for this pod right here. But as you can see, I actually ended up losing bullet again, going back to red twice now, where I could have just kept purple the entire time if I had initially swapped it. I also think it's important as Ranger to know that your sticky nade is not just a PP management tool. It's actually a actual viable DPS option. It does a lot more damage now. So definitely use it when it's off cooldown. I know it can be a lot to manage, but once you get the muscle memory of it down, I think it's definitely worth it. So there was an example right there where if the mine, or if I laid 2 mines, his arm would have lifted up and I would have missed one of them. This is pretty standard. You're going to want to use Raising Shot instead of Revolt Aim because of the amount of ticks that it's going to do on the core. Definitely a lot of damage. It's also very satisfying just seeing all of those ticks. I tend to throw my sticky at the beginning of him going down because when he breaks, obviously you're going to PB, you're going to be using your, your Raising Shot, and you will run out of PP. So, it's important to have some type of PP management tool back up, such as Rifle Impact or Spread Shot, just to regain that back. Right there, you saw that I actually swapped the bullet before the core had fully closed on break, and while, yes, that is a slight damage loss of what you could potentially fit in there, I think it's important to know that once your core window closes from break, you actually lose your purple bullet if it is still on the core at the end of break. So right there, if I laid a mine, that mine would have exploded, done no damage, but because I threw a grenade, I ended up having some type of consistent damage. So this is an example of what I was speaking about earlier. Those missiles, by the way, they're a bit of getting used to, but I think if you can counter them, I would highly recommend it. It's free damage, and who doesn't love free damage? Right here, I know a lot of people are going to ask you, why aren't you jumping up in optimal range and just shooting down? I actually don't have PA Slowfall on. I actually turned it off for this quest, because on part 2 I feel like it's more advantageous to actually not have it on. There's typical Ranger fashion, your grenade going into the stratosphere. So, it wouldn't really be a Ranger video of mine without me whiffing something of some sort. But the end of P1 is pretty simple. You basically just Raising Shot the core until you enter part 2. So at the start of part 2, I like to always have 3 stocks because I like shooting one directly into his body because I never know what move he's going to do. I got really lucky with him doing this spherical move, so I actually was just able to burn my stocks right here because at the end of each move, I always like to use my stocks because I like to have a full set for whatever move he's going to do next. I'd say this is another mistake that I made here. I should have bulleted him when this moveset started, but I had faith that he was going to put his staff down or do the staff poke, which he didn't, which is unfortunate. But it's okay because he actually did this again, which allowed me to PB and get a ton of damage in, especially because the last staff placement was right on all of my extra mines. So, mistake number 3, you're actually supposed to hit the staff, which I clearly didn't do. But what you'll do to maintain purple on this phase is you want to mark the staff and then mark his body, like I just did there. Because if you mark the staff but don't mark his body at the very end, you'll actually lose your bullet right before he charges back at you. So I think that's important. Right here is where that no PA Slowfall comes into play, so I'm getting 2 to 3 encore jumps out of every Raising Shot that I do. I personally struggle with hitting the core and the staff at the same time, especially depending on positioning, so I always felt that it would be a lot easier for me to do the encore jump strat. And, it might not be a lot of damage, but 500 to 1,000, every encore jump that you do, that damage adds up very quickly. So any damage is good damage. So, a quick note about this attack right here, actually. The first iteration where the cubes come out, the staff actually goes away quicker than your mine would explode. So I always think it's important to actually throw a grenade instead of laying a mine, because I know it'll be consistent damage every time and it'll always hit, especially if you're far away. So right here with walls, I think it's important. So when you get right about here at the edge of the arena, you can actually mark him through this wall. You don't actually need to be in one of the, I guess, little cubby holes to mark him properly. You can shoot him through the walls because your bullets are, I guess, not tangible, you know, going through them. Right here, I'm just using rifle impact because I think it's just good filler DPS, and then right here, I actually just shoot up on the staff to get as many ticks as I can, which then ends up causing the staff break. So, pretty standard stuff here. You're kind of just trying to get the encore jump rhythm down while shooting raising down the staff within optimal range, which personally, in terms of gameplay feel, has felt a lot better than shooting staff and core at the same time. So right here, you can actually mark his staff, even though it's slightly out of the frame. Definitely something that I would highly recommend doing if you only have, you know, one stock left and you're not sure where to burn it. I would say this part was probably one of my next mistakes. So I missed my bullet. I was definitely very nervous here. I knew that I was on a really good split time, so I actually lost purple here, which lost me out on a bit of damage, but thankfully I got really good, nice crit rolls, and then we start transitioning into P3. So, assuming I had purple there, you would mark his body, and then you would have purple for this first pod right here. So, there are a lot of places you can upkeep purple in P2. You can actually upkeep purple the entirety of P2 if you play your cards right and, you know, he plays his cards right. So I think that is what every ranger should be striving for. Right there, you saw that I threw a sticky on the middle pod because I know that that's going to be the last pod that I end up attacking, so I want to get any type of damage on it that I possibly can before it's the last pod. So people are going to also ask me, you know, is raising shot better when it comes to shooting through the pods? In terms of gameplay feel, I feel that staying in the middle is better, especially for your camera, because camera controls can be kind of wonky. Plus, you're always in optimal range from the middle to each of these pods, so it makes it kind of easier for me. But this is all pretty standard. You want to try to maintain purple on all 9 pods if possible. So on attacks like these, I always switch pods at the very end because I know that the initial pod that I was already attacking will break. So, you know, again, another mistake for me, things that I definitely could have done better. But I think it all worked out in the end. I got really nice rolls with crits, and that turned into a clear. So right here, I actually could have probably kept my bullet on that pod a little bit longer, simply because I thought that it was a lot closer to breaking, but I think it's fine. Right here, I actually made another mistake. I'm supposed to normally fall in impact right there, but I just didn't. I was super nervous. This was, again, my best split. Having a minute going into the last phase was something I previously had just not achieved before. But the last phase is pretty self-explanatory. I actually started using rifle impact here to slightly build up my purple bullet faster because I knew that I was going to PB, and I knew that that PB needed to do as much damage as possible, so I wouldn't want to PB on a red bullet. So I waited till it turned purple, and then I PB'd. You can actually also start off this phase with purple. So on the very last pod, if you know that it's about to break, you can actually run to the edge of the arena and mark his body, and then turn around and destroy the pod. And then when he comes down, you can just mark his head, and then it will automatically be purple. But that is the end of the run. Thank you all for watching. Honestly, it was a very long journey. I've probably done hundreds of Solus runs. Lots of struggling, lots of very upset moments, but I'm very thankful that it's done. I hope that regardless of your status as Ranger, that you learned something new, and I hope you enjoyed. Take care, everyone.